Hello everybody, this is Earthquake here, and today we are going to be talking about my slip and dip build. This is a gun build for Amon. A lot of people seem to be under the impression that he can only do ordnance. That's just not true. It's very not true. I'm going to show how not true this is with this build. This is currently one of the fastest kill times on Bloom Reaper in the game. This build will easily put up platinums. You don't need god rolls to make that happen. The overall premise is the same as my previous iterations. I have just made a few small changes to the skill tree to optimize for the slight gear changes, and I have picked a new set of weapons to really lean on the true ultimate Vault Hunter mode update. Added quite a bit of health to bosses, and now this has become Underbarrel lands. I had said a while back that the spread launcher needed to be nerfed, that weapons of that power needed to be nerfed, and they didn't, and now here we are. But that's okay, I embrace the Underbarrel lands for what it is, because we have Berserk. That's right, that is the difference here. Slip and Dip 3 fully leverages Berserk on the Shatterwhite comm to get 10 out of 5. Once you push this through your formula, that is over 1,000% bonus cryo damage on your guns. Now, all you need to do to get all that bonus cryo damage on your guns is use your forge skill and throw a bunch of slippies. That's right, hence the name, Slip and Dip. Now, the dip part comes a little later, we'll get there. But for right now, just know that combining this class mod with Slippy and My Touch is Death from Amon's skill tree allows you to push Berserk, and There Is Only Red, those two skills together, to 10 stacks all the time, at will, and that will give you that giant damage on your guns. Now, not to waste too much time on the inventory, because realistically, you can just pick strong weapons. There's nothing super specific about this build that requires one in particular gun. I will note that higher damage bullets are favored in this gun because of force of nature. However, it's not 100% needed because of how powerful Berserk is. The big bossers are beam tossers. And then, of course, the spread launchers are great. I used to hate them, but I mean, at this level of health, it is what it is. Underbarrels are really where the big power comes from. Things like Oscar Mike's Space Laser, that's another huge hitter. TKs with stickies, that's a gun you can actually use. Root with Jacobs and Atlas, that's another very powerful one. The Kickballer is a farmable beam tosser. These are all very powerful bossing weapons. Then when it comes to ad clear, it's a lot more free. You can really just pick up whatever you want. I love this Balor. Sniper Date Switch. Dark Beast. Chuck is great if you can get it with the Replicator homing. Hot Slugger is the easiest pick. Once you have this build going, the Hot Slugger will clear mobs very quickly, very easily. You don't need God Roll gear to do that. Amp on your rep kit. I have a Mega Triple Bypass here because it's convenient, but in order one with 2 chargers, an Amp or Enrage or Amp and whatever you want, that will go a long way as well. Watts for dinner, it's simple. You get Overshield going, you get the bonus shock damage, and you get the Amp. Onslaughter will refill your shield to keep the Amp going. I want to talk about enhancements and what Borderlands 4 has done to gear power. As you can see, I have a lot of enhancements here. That's because enhancements are extremely powerful in this game. Gun damage, SMG damage right there. Those are both on-shot bonuses, which contribute to Berserk as well. And since Amon has no on-shot bonuses in his tree, that's a lot of damage buff. That helps Berserk immensely because it's a full molt to all the soup you get, but it's also a molt to that giant base damage because it fits right in the middle there. Enhancements are wildly powerful. So as you can see, loads of purple ones. You want as many damage rolls as you can get. Gun or specific gun. Gun SMG. Gun shotgun. Just stuff like that. That is where the big damage really comes from. You combine that with Amp to get the real Berserk damage going. But otherwise, that is pretty much the gear. Like I said, Shatterwhite, Triple Bypass, or Amp Rep Kit, Slippy, an enhancement that matches the weapons you're using, and Watts for dinner. As far as the firmware is concerned, Skillcraft, High Caliber, and Dadio. These 3 you can rotate depending on what you're doing. If you are able to get Skillcraft going, you can force that into a Groundbreaker, because Groundbreaker is skill damage. There's a lot of options for how you deliver the giant damage, and it's really up to you for what you want to do. So with that, we will get into the skill tree. And as said previously, there's not a ton of changes to the skill tree, a few optimizations here and there. Upper red is pretty standard. I did increase the number of points I have in Dragon's Breath because I am not leading on the Raging Inferno, so crit chance isn't as big to me. Fist of Stone to regen Horcleave. I did not go for Stormcutter this time. I don't really need Onslaught or regen that much. Berserk is the big damage. This is at 10 out of 5, just 60%. However, there's only red. That increases that by 600%, which is more or less a 7 times mult to that 60%. So that is 420% at base before our formula, which is how we end up with that number I said previously, up over 1,000%. My Touch's Death is what allows us to do all that easily with Slippy, because every time Slippy deals melee damage, there's a chance to activate our kill skills, which this is right here. Every time we throw that Slippy, we get the Dragon's Breath amp, which is just lovely. Dragon's Breath, again, is amp and skill damage. So every time you throw a grenade, your next bullet will be amped by 100%, which adds with other amp, and then it will get the skill damage tag. Despite it being skill damage, it will build Groundbreaker. Force of Nature takes 10 shots of gun damage dealt and turns them into 1 instance of action skill damage. That's wildly powerful. That's a double dip on its own. You can then funnel that action skill damage into Groundbreaker for a triple dip. Previously, I was using Raging Inferno for the triple dip. Nope, Groundbreaker is the tits because it gets Berserk. That's a lot of fucking damage. So moving on to Green Tree. Gathering Storm because it's a kill skill, so you get that 45% elemental damage, which gets triple dipped on Groundbreaker, kinda. It won't be on the Groundbreaker itself, but it will be on the Berserk. The Thrill for healing, Battleborn for gun damage that funnels into I Am a Gun. Then again, Onslaughter, Force of Nature, Horcleave. Moving into the specialization tree, really this, Bullet Train, Groundbreaker, and I Am a Gun. You can swap one of these out depending on the weapon you're using. If you're going for a one-shot and you're not doing a lot of gun damage ahead of time, you can drop really this for a Honed Mind, because this will apply to Berserk if you can make Berserk crit. There are ways to do that. Overall, though, the big thing you really want is I Am a Gun and Groundbreaker. These two things can skyrocket your damage quickly on this setup. You don't need a ton of specialization points. As you can see, I've got this filled out just to have it. Really, this is nice, though, for mobbing. And that's it. If you have any questions, concerns, or you'd like to pick up a save file or show me a picture of your pet, please swing by my Discord. There will be an invite in the description to this video. Thanks. Bye-bye.